We already got some people in here. The whole like what we talked about last week, how you always have to promote on all these different sites. I gotta post on X. I gotta post on Instagram. I gotta do all these fucking things. And it's like, can't I just focus on the music? Can't I just focus on what I'm supposed to do? Like we said that
Everything has become about marketing. Everything has become about putting yourself out there.
yeah, you
It's
have to be like that all the time now.
yeah, it's like it is 10 times the battle.
Hold on, babe. Hold on. What'd you say, babe? I don't think Corey is big into like cartoons like that.
Oh, I
Hold
didn't.
on.
I couldn't hear. Sorry.
Sorry, dude. It's okay. I'm just sharing something real quick, and then we're gonna start.
Cool.
I'm just putting this Twitch link out. What's up, one person in here? Say, how's it going? We're about to start this conversation right now. I have to promote the stream. I'm not a big streamer, okay? So it always counts to do a little bit of promotion.
Of course.
TV, TO on tap. Cool. All right, cool. So we live, bro. We live. We live. We live. All right, Corey. So what's up, man? What's up, everybody? This is To on tap. This is one of my greatest friends of all time. Music, fucking audiophile, great writer, and we had a conversation 2 weeks ago. And every 2 weeks we're going to be going in depth about talking about just a different topic, whether that's media, whether that's just how music is not serious anymore, what we're going to be talking about tonight, gaming, just a bunch of different stuff we're going to be talking about all the time. So if you feel like joining in on the convo, if you feel like asking a question, if you feel like you want to just join us, feel free. We are live on Twitch tonight. I'm going to be sipping a little bit of White Claws tonight with Corey while we talk about it. So Corey,
No
tell
loss.
me real quick, no loss, no loss. Tell me a little bit about how your week's been going since we last chat, and then we'll go and get into the conversation.
Well, my week would say I've had 2 very busy weeks. Just going around the Henderson area and taking care of a lot of stuff that I had to take care of. And visiting my dad in Boulder City, so it's been a interesting time with family as well. I've been trying to just make a whole lot of changes and live a little bit healthier. That's something that I intended to do earlier in the year, like a New Year's resolution that I was kind of just catching up to. So just trying to do things healthier, trying to move up a little bit in the world, and that's been hitting me the past few weeks. And then also just always listening to new music and trying to catch a movie here and there, keep up with culture. It gets harder in your late 30s, but
It gets hard, dude. I have
absolutely.
I have been going through something similar, man, where it's like I'm trying to like move up in the world. I'm trying to move up in the world, and yes, I have small wins, and a lot of those small wins they add up to be something big and monumental. But it is fucking hard to move up in the world right now, bro. Like
Absolutely.
it feels like it feels, and I'm not complaining. I'm really not complaining. Like genuinely, a lot of my friends, I see a lot of my friends are parents. You're one of my friends. I see a lot of people online, and there's just like the sentiment online where it's fucking hard to move up in the world right now. Like you can't. It's hard to save money. It's hard to have time to explore your passions, let's say you're into making music, let's say you're into streaming. Well, it's so fucking hard to give your time to your passions because you always have to fucking work nonstop to survive. And it's like it's just built like this. All the fucking it's built like this. And I'm sorry, I'm getting off in a little tangent, but you know what I
No,
mean.
yeah, I'm
You
following.
know what I mean, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
have to work like 60 plus hours a week, and then that takes time away from my passions, takes time away from my family, and that's all I'm saying. It's so hard right now to move up in the world. So I mean, props to you for trying and being positive, because myself too, I'm being positive and trying.
Dude, I was gonna say props to you. You're taking care of a family and still streaming and still making music and DJing. Dude, you are doing it all.
Dude,
Absolutely.
it comes at a price, man. You know, me and my wife, we don't have a lot of fights and stuff, but we have a lot of tension sometimes in a relationship, because it's like I work so much, and then I'm like, our I don't get to see my son as much, and there's been times where it's like I miss so many things of his first moments. I have a second child now, so I'm getting to experience that a little bit more. But there was times, man, when my firstborn son, I missed so many of his first moments because I was always working, trying to just tread water and stay afloat. And I'm like, why is it this hard? Life, we live in the Garden of Eden. Like, it's not supposed to be this hard. My wife always says it to me. We live in the Garden of Eden. Why is it this hard to thrive in the Garden of Eden? God didn't design it like that. It wasn't supposed to be designed like that in the first place. You know what I mean?
We're supposed to have the resources to be able to live. We're supposed to have the ability and community to be able to live. And we've gotten so far as a culture away from that that it's destroying us as individuals.
What made us get away from that in the first place? Because they said like social media, they said like technology, all this stuff was supposed to bring us together. But at the same time, and people have been feeling more lonely than ever. You know what I mean? Like we're more closed off. You mean, do people really? Let's take it into music. When I go to a concert, back in the day when me used to go to the concert, people were really vibing and sitting and getting into the music right there. Absolutely. But now when you go to a concert, everyone's on their phones. Everyone's like, people don't even fucking dance anymore. It seems like.
No, not at all. And sometimes they're filming the show on their phones, which is a miserable way to be, taking something in when you're, experiencing it live and you're still addicted to seeing it through a screen. But then it's even worse when you see people communicating and people watching a video on their phones, and you paid a ticket to be here. You expected a live experience and a communal experience, and also especially in terms of like a music. Either a band or just any type of music act, you're there to experience the art being performed live in front of you, and you're on a screen.
Yeah, I've gone to a concert, man. I'm guilty of this before, and it's like I had to check myself before because I'm there and I'm watching a show. And I'm watching what I'm filming on a little square through my screen, and I'm like watching the artist, and I'm like, just so I can get a highlight reel on my social media. I'm guilty of it. Everyone's guilty of it. We've done it so many times.
Oh, I'm so guilty of it that I'm not sure if this is going to go through or not, but I'm planning on going to a bluegrass festival with my aunt later on this weekend.
Yeah.
And I was already thinking about the different artists that I would want to catch a video of. And it's like, what? I never thought about that when I was a teenager. That would never went through my mind.
Yeah, when you're really fucked up is like when you're thinking about the social media post that you're going to make before you're even at the event.
Saying. That's what I'm saying.
That's when you know, like you're looking more forward to the post and sharing with everybody else what you're going to do more than the event that you're going to be at, more than like the music itself, more than the art form itself. And me personally, I fell in love with this medium. I fell in love with this art form. So why am I giving more attention to what other people are going to be thinking about me being there? You know what I mean? Somewhere along the way, we have like, I don't know if we've been put in a psychosis, a spell, if we've been put in some sort of trance where like we collectively are all just bound to this technology. We're bound to this fucking technology. It has me in a chokehold, bro. Like I wake up sometimes in the morning and it's like one of the first things I check and I'm like, I hate myself for it. I legitimately hate myself for it. I'm like, why am I checking this shit right away? You know what I mean? People in the stream right now, drop a comment if you feel the same way, because how do I break out of that cycle? It seems impossible because I'm so far gone down it.
And everything is commodified into the phone as well. So think about this: your banking app, the music news that you consume, anything on social media, YouTube, which is like a whole in and of itself. Every single thing is there to bring you back to that phone. Even checking the time.
Dude. And now I wear an Apple Watch, and I love my Apple Watch because I like monitoring my heart, I like monitoring my steps. But it's like and then it's like now I'm checking my wrist every second. I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? It's like, dude, like there's something that was special about when time moves slower. And I think one of the reasons it feels like time moves so fast now is because the news intake, the music intake, the movie intake, the media intake is so fast now. It's just like so fast. It's like, I'm listening to a song. If it doesn't hit within the first 10 seconds, I skip to the next song. This artist, this mainstream artist released an album. The album has 42 songs on the album. You know what I
Oh
mean?
my
Like,
gosh, yeah, yeah.
and it's like nothing can saturate with me anymore. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Oh, and it's designed to be short form as well, whether that's something from TikTok or, like you said, an artist having 42 songs on their album. Back in the day, if an artist had 42 songs on their album, that was like a triple album, and it would be iconic. It'd be something that you'd remember forever. And now it's just like Drake, like
Drake.
he'll just drop something with like 42 tracks on it, something, and I can respect people who have like a shorter form stuff and make that work, but there's something to be said about like something that can be like you say, it saturates with you, and you're able to savor it a little longer and understand it on a deeper level than something that is just like the next instant fix. And
Yes.
I think that TikTok has a lot to do with that, and just short form content in general. And unfortunately, the way the music industry, specifically, but not just the music industry, publishing industry as well, in a very big way, have gotten addicted to this short form content, which then in turn has gotten us addicted to that instant gratification
Yeah.
of picking up your phone and being able to hear a song, read something, read an article. Hell, I've read full books on my phone. I've read books on my phone. I don't. In what universe are we intended to do that?
Do you, when you read a book on your phone, can you tell any difference from reading it on paper? Do you take it in better if you read it on paper? Because I'm gonna be honest, man. Like, I
Absolutely.
like to read, but I'm not like as big as into literature as you are. So, is there any difference from reading like a Kindle to reading it on paper?
So I would say in a very very big way there is a difference. I think that I like the availability of being able to read things on your phone or on a screen, just in the sense that, like, for example, there's a lot of stuff that might be hard to track down in the library, or hard or expensive to find on Amazon. But like, for example, an author that is weirdly popping up in movies and weirdly popping up on a lot of review sites, but Michel Houellebecq is
I never heard of. Is it's a woman? Oh, it's a
he's kind
man.
of like a yeah, he writes he's, I want to say he's French, but I might be wrong with that.
Okay.
Wrong about that. I think he's Belgian. Um, he writes a lot of darker type of stuff. He's been around since the '90s, and but he's been popping up lately in a lot of stuff like that. And for example, I couldn't find his books at the library, and some of them, to import an English copy from Europe was a little bit of money. But I was able to go online and find a PDF for free and read it. It was that's an experience I would have otherwise not had. So so as a result, I like the availability of being able to get something on your phone or on a laptop or on a tablet,
Yeah.
or on, yeah, anything like that, Kindle or anything like that. However, it is not the same processing like a book, like looking on something and just like processing it, like, oh, I've read that book, now I've read the 100 whatever pages it is on a PDF, and quite literally turning through and taking all that in almost as like a live experience, where you have to pay attention on a different level, and you have to physically interact with the book as well. That's
That kind of adds like a whole nother element to it that just makes it more
it
like.
adds a whole yeah, it adds a whole different element to it. And also, I can tell you that there are things that I've enjoyed that I've read on a screen or on my phone or on, just on my laptop or whatever. There's a lot of things I've enjoyed, and like I said, I like the availability of it. So there's things I like. However, it's absolutely not even close to how it is when I was younger, and everything was physical. Everything was like you had to take it in like that. And some of my most memorable times, not just in the stories themselves, not even in just the style of the writing itself, but just some of my most memorable times with books. I remember as cheesy or corny as this might sound, I remember the feel of the book itself. I
No,
remember
it's not.
being
It's
like,
not corny at all.
yeah,
Because
I
there's
remember
almost like a
being,
smell to it. There's almost like a you can like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yes, absolutely. I remember when because I read the book All the Pretty Horses. I read it at the DMV. I actually read it like cover to cover at the DMV, sitting there for 7 hours. And I remember that the cover, because it was like this really thin cardboard, kept on bending. So by the time the 7 or 8 hours that I was done with it, this book looked like I had crumpled it. And but that was part of the experience. Like, part of the experience is that I did that, and it was crazy. It was almost like a supernatural thing. I read the final word of that novel. I read the final word of it, and then they called my name up to the counter at the DMV. So I like began the book and ended it
so
in my entire.
so you remember that specifically because of that emotion and feeling. It's like carrying the book in with you, and then you had to go pick.
Yes,
You know what I mean? And then like that,
absolutely.
it's more of like a scene that can replay in your movie than just opening up something and downloading it. And it's like you said, the availability is nice. It is very nice and convenient, but it kind of takes away the experience
Hmm.
of everything. Just like when we were saying, going at the concert, I was like, am I really going to this concert to see this artist, or am I really just going to this concert so I can get a cool TikTok video or Instagram story and put it on my reel? Is there like downloading, listening to music on streaming has I've felt many similar instances. I felt so similar to the same thing you're saying right now when I listen to an album on streaming. There is no better feeling than going to a store back in the day when me and you used to go to FYF, and you pick up an album and you look at it and you don't know every single song, and some of it is a mystery. And you're like looking at the track list, you're looking at it, you get the little album cover, the book inside, and you're like, and you genuinely fall in love with that album. You fall in love with the songs
Yes,
that are not like, you know, maybe they weren't like the hottest songs, but they meant something special to you. And that album had so much more time to saturate in your soul and your mind. And I don't know, maybe we sound old to some people on this stream right now, but there was something very, very special about that time where you can buy an album and discover everything about that. Because you know why? Because then I would get the album, I would listen to it, and I would be so intrigued with it. I would look in the book, or I would get online, and I would in the early days of the internet, or you know what I mean,
hmm,
and I would look up like who the producers were. I would look
of
up maybe
course,
who the
yeah.
writers were. I would maybe even look for like some sort of something online to tell me about what inspired them to write this, or you know what I mean, or and now
And
I listen to
even if it
music on
was like an
streaming.
artist,
Say
even
what you're
if it
gonna
was
say.
an artist's most like a mediocre album, you were almost forced to take it in because you had bought it, and you would hear every song, like you're saying, you'd hear every song, and there would be a whole story surrounding the album. There would be producers, there would be influences, and something I think about a lot that really blew my mind, and it's something we don't think about enough, is there was a time where you didn't know what the album cover was going to look like until it was on the shelf. And I thought that that was insane, walking into like FYE or Hot Topic or any of those places and seeing an album for the first time and be like, oh, that's it. Like,
Yes.
I heard, like, I for example, here's like a kind of a random one, but I had heard that, and this is like something I maybe not even the best example, but I heard that the Foo Fighters were going to come out with the album In Your Honor. I
Yeah.
remember when that was coming out, and I
That's the
didn't
one with the
know what.
buffalo on it, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And I didn't know what it looked like the day it came out. So I walked past the stand and like saw this album with the buffalo on it, and I didn't read the cover, and I was just like, okay, well, I'm here to look for the new Foo Fighters. I can't really find it, and because I didn't know that was the album.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, there's something kind of magic about like seeing the album cover for the first time,
It is,
and
dude.
that's been taken away entirely by the internet. Like, I I knew the last time I was genuinely surprised by album art or by the album in general was
Yeah.
probably 10 years ago when Radiohead did Moon Shaped Pool,
Yeah.
and it was they didn't release anything till the day of. They didn't
Really?
even release a title until the day of. I
Yeah, I
thought
remember
that was
that. I actually
insane.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
no
that
one
album
knew
was
what it.
so slept on.
Oh my gosh, it was too, because it's like in my opinion, it's as much a masterpiece as anything else they did. But it really came and went. I remember it came out, people liked it, and then that's you never heard about it ever again.
Yeah,
And I was like, damn, that was
because
great.
in today's era, like Radiohead is like one of the greatest bands of all time, but like they're not popular in today's era because
Mm,
they don't fit the mold of what is a popular band. You don't really see like you know exactly what I mean. Like you don't really see like
of course, yeah,
Radiohead like posting shit on TikToks or like making you know what I mean because they're just strictly about the music, strictly about the art.
of course,
And it's like me and you, we always get on Radiohead binges. We talk about Radiohead a lot, but
always,
they
yeah.
don't they don't. It's so sad that they don't really like they don't get the flowers that they deserve in today's era. You know what I mean?
No, not at all. Just because, like you said, that they haven't, they don't have much viral power.
They
So
don't.
as a result, they're not treated with as given the respect as artists that they deserve at all.
It's crazy, right? That takes it us right into full circle of what we're talking about. How nothing is serious anymore. And for the Gen Z that clip this later and say like, you guys are just old. You guys are unks. Like, listen, I'm 30. I'm 35 years old. Like, no, there was a time where you could still have fun and you could still make music about what's happening in the world and you could still
Mhm.
be serious with it and you could convey a message and get your message out there. But it seems I don't know, it could still be on topic, it could still be on fun. For instance, and this might be like the corniest band of all time in today's era, but like Green Day, I'm going to use them as an example. Back in the 9/11 era, in the George Bush era, Green Day was super popular, and when they were playing, you know, their American Idiot album, like their music was, yes, like today in today's world, it is a little corny. It is a little, you know, when we were teenagers and we were listening to it, it had the music fit the whole atmosphere of what was going on in America at the time.
It was reflecting everything back. Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, like it was
Mhm.
reflecting everything back, just like you said. Like the music had a message, and maybe it didn't age as well as it should have, but for the
I think
time,
that's only stylistic, though, only because eventually, the musical landscape moved on from like the pop punk type of sound. But that's the only thing that ages it. Because other than that, I feel like American Idiot still holds up. Like
it
as a
still holds up for the time from the time era. If you could go back in
mm,
time, like the message of the album like it was you knew what it was like
mm,
you could get the album, you could listen to it, you can look at the book inside, you could look at the lyrics, you could read the lyrics, and you could say, okay, like I understand what the message is that they're trying to convey. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely,
they're
yeah.
making this music with a purpose, and as it's serious. You know what I mean? In
Mm,
today's world, we have so much going on within the political landscape of the world with all the war and stuff. I mean, you know, I'm sure you see the headlines. I'm sure you've seen the
of
news.
course.
There's so much going on. And it's like we get so much of the news from just these clips on social media. Where is the art from this era that is talking about these things? And like I said, it doesn't have to be so serious and so depressive and so like, oh, like make songs like we're at war and end the war and you know what I mean? But like where is the music and where is the media that fits the era of the landscape of things that are happening in our world? I don't see it
Well,
anywhere. If you understand what I'm saying, maybe I haven't found it. Maybe I
well,
maybe
I agree though. There really is not much. There's certain things. Okay, so I do have kind of a little bit of a rant
what's
about
that?
this.
The song you showed me. Continue what you were saying, man.
I do have a little bit of a rant about this before, but before I even get to that, I will say that even when you do see something that is meant to be radically political or have some sort of radical message, it's always very specific now. It isn't something that, and we've talked before about like the loss of monoculture and how everything seems to be at odds. before, and I think that plays into it because there does seem to be a lot of people like fracturing in the
Yes.
sense that even if there is art that's speaking to something, it's only speaking to one type of experience. It's not speaking to a greater, the closest thing I've seen in years maybe would be like the new Superman. You know what I mean?
Really, I never
It
saw
just
it, so I wouldn't be able to speak on it. But it
Yeah,
spoke on the.
but it would just be like, but to be able to to say just to be a good person in general instead of having something so specific. Um, but I can say something that I've had that has been on my mind about how unserious things have been across the board,
Yeah.
and some possible reason why, and it actually transitions a little bit from the last episode that we had.
Okay. Cool. Let's hear it.
Yeah.
I'm all ears.
Okay, so this will be much shorter than last episode's rant.
Yeah,
Much,
we're
much.
going 1 hour flat tonight, but I definitely want to hear your rant because you're the greatest ranter of all time. I swear to
Oh well,
God,
thank
you,
you.
you need a you need a trophy that says greatest ranter of all time.
I will happily take it. It's like a passion of mine. This one is going to be a little bit more all over the place,
Okay.
but it's also much shorter, much shorter
Okay.
than the last one. Two things I wanted to discuss in terms of two artists recently,
Yeah.
and then also two ideas that are going to spiral off into little other thoughts I had about how we're talking about everything's kind of fake and not serious anymore.
Yeah, because
And
everything is about like the aesthetic of looking cool and like getting followers,
oh,
and you know what I mean.
you just hit the nail on the head. The word is aesthetic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Cool.
So we were talking about things last time lacking an iconic and timeless feel.
Yeah.
And one thing that I think that problem shares, that problem shares a common element with the problem we're also discussing today about art not being serious anymore, not wanting to speak on anything. It's part of the culture or a bigger any bigger idea than just anything just aesthetic and
Yes.
mainstream. And so I saw this past week that Sabrina Carpenter put out a video for her song House Tour,
Yes.
and it has Margaret Qualley in it, and I think it's directed by her and Margaret Qualley. And the video is essentially them just dancing in like lingerie,
I
and
saw
I
the
think
video. I saw the video.
okay, so you've seen it,
Yeah, I seen
okay.
the video. I know it's very popular right now.
So
Sabrina's super popular right now. She's headlining
okay,
Coachella, obviously.
yeah, yeah,
She's like one of the biggest mainstream artists right now. I would say, right?
yeah, absolutely. Well then, that's perfect. I'm glad I saw that, and I'm glad I'm speaking on it because that
Okay.
is kind of something that's going on in my mind. So, um, there's this idea. There's a French philosopher from he was from the 70s and 80s. I think he died. I'm not sure when he passed, but he is passed now.
Yeah.
Named Jean Baudrillard, and I'm probably not the most like the expert on this. There's a lot of other YouTube videos you can watch that are going to go a lot more in depth about his ideas, but he has this book that's called Simulation and Simulacrum, and in
What
it
is
he talks.
simulac? I never even heard that word. What is
So
simulacrum?
that's a good question. So I essentially, and I'll put it in the best terms I can without making myself sound like an idiot.
Yeah.
It's essentially the idea that everything, because simulation would be that everything's fake.
Yes.
Simulacrum would be the idea that everything is kind of like just the surface level version of what it is. So instead of
Just
um,
not even to the base level, just the very surface.
instead of the idea of punk, think about people just dressing punk.
Okay.
That would be like a simulacrum, right?
Okay.
And like I said, I'm not an expert on any of this, and people can probably go into his ideas a little better than I can. But something that always comes to mind when I think of this idea of simulacrum is there's this thing called, and I'm sure you've heard this term before, and if not, then I can say it, but I'm sure you've heard the term before, kayfabe. And what it means for anyone watching is kayfabe is essentially the idea of like they used to apply it to wrestling, to like professional wrestling, and it also applies a lot to hip hop as well. And it's the idea that a lot of times people are like playing a character of themselves, Like for example, like you hear rappers talk all the time about how they're, on the streets selling drugs and shooting people, and they may or may
But
not be.
they're like really softies at heart. Like they're like,
Yeah, exactly.
exactly like
It's
it's
it's all
it's all a character that they're playing.
it's all a character,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think about that, and I think about how that's influenced our social media mindset, that idea of kayfabe and of
Yes.
simulacrum, and
Yes.
of people just putting off this like character version of themselves. And so everything becomes aesthetics, and everything has become ingrained in our society as being based in aesthetics. And this has always been a problem in music genres, because you've always had like punk and metal, and the art forms that are kind of associated with them, even though that doesn't directly speak to the music or any kind of philosophy or anything like that. And I said that in my notes, actually, really quick, that I had the lyrics have become like secondary in mainstream music, and they kind of always have been, but now they completely lack sincerity. Like it almost feels AI written, like almost
Yeah.
all modern lyrics. And I said that either you're ballin' or you have the euphoria moodiness. And shout out to the third season of Euphoria, which looks like Breaking Bad, operative word bad. Um, and uh, pop and hip hop have kind of really taken this idea, this like superficial idea, and sold it as a product and a cult of personality. So you have people who, I mean, ever since the 90s, you've had people that identify almost with this gang like idea of their favorite rapper. But then you also have people who are Swifties and
Yes.
all these things where everybody has this almost like, even in the mainstream, everything is stratified and everything is sold on this cult of personality. And I think of like Ethel Kane,
Yes.
who has this whole persona that she sells of like the preacher's daughter. I think she's like a trans woman, but she has this idea of like the preacher's daughter. It's this dark Southern Gothic thing going on, but it's all fake, and her real name is Hayden or something like that.
Yes.
But so everything is sold on this like idea of persona, and you see it in every genre now, and even in the underground, the mainstream. Hell, who's beefing with Ethel Kane is Lana Del Rey. Even Lana Del Rey and her retro, Americana type of thing going on. It's all a persona.
It's all persona. It's all
And
still a character that she's playing to.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
And so rock specifically in the past like 20 years has
What happened to
stratified.
rock, bro? Like, oh, dude, like,
It's
so.
it's gone completely into the background and into the underground, and it's also stratified into these tribal elements. So now you have indie, you have punk, you have metal, but it's all separate from each other.
Yes.
And and it's lost any kind of foundation. So you don't have people like 20 years ago. You'd have people that just listen to rock. They listen to any kind of band that comes out, and they have kind of varied flavors.
Yes.
But now everything is stratified, and you see very much that the fashion, just like in mainstream, just like in pop, just like in hip-hop, you start to see the fashion become the ideology, and you start to see people have this weird defensive like allegiance, where it's like, oh, I'm punk, I'm metal, and that's come back. You start to see people identify with like an aesthetic rather than a
Yeah.
the sound and the philosophy of anything. And so on the other side of things, on the other side of Sabrina Carpenter, there's another band I want to call out, and it's not for their lack of talent, because I think this band is very, they're very interesting,
Okay.
but I don't like something they're doing. I very much don't like something they're doing. And I actually had to look up Professor Sky's video on this band prior to our conversation
Okay.
to know how to pronounce their name. It's a French word. So they go by Engine du Poutine,
I never heard of this
and
band.
they did a KEXP video on YouTube that's kind of, and I think they were just released their second album this past week or past 2 weeks or something, and they look very strange. Like it's very obvious that's what's getting them attention. They have this very weird psychedelic math rock sound, which that's its own thing. And like I said, they are very talented, but they have these very weird costumes that they wear, where this guy has like this white mask with a big nose, and the other guy has like this weird thing on his head, and it's all very strange.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like, as talented as they are, they didn't have to put image before art. They didn't have to sell themselves in that way, even though that's kind of what this
You can
algorithm
line up
driven
wherever you want, man.
culture kind of calls for. And so I think of like a band like Pink Floyd, who back in the day, even though they had kind of a neutral image, they looked like normal guys.
Yes.
But you still had like their big crazy shows with the screen behind them, and you had the album artwork where it was all very psychedelic and strange, and that played a part in the experience.
Hmm.
And I think also oftentimes when I think of this idea, I think about the fact that I always have thought about my own name, choosing Dreaming with Machines and releasing different kind of music. And I think about how, and this is kind of a funny thing to tie it into, but I think about this a lot, is Kanye West, when he was making 808s and Heartbreaks, he said that he almost released it under a different name, but then thought about it and he was like, no, I'm Kanye West.
I
Like
didn't know that.
that's like everything I do is going to be under my name because why wouldn't it be? Kind of thing. And so I think about that a lot because there's a genuineness to that. Everything you hear from him, even if it sounds different than the last album, is going to be his artistic intent, and he put his name on it.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something very beautiful about that. And then you think about an old artist like David Bowie, who immersed themselves into these different eras, but they always came from a foundational point rather than just selling an image. So, for example, he's playing folk music and then starts doing LSD, and then he comes up with this crazy glam figure of Ziggy Stardust.
Yes.
And then he goes to Europe and starts doing a bunch of cocaine, and he starts wearing a white suit all the time. And he changed, but he changed authentically with his life. And I even put, authenticity doesn't always have to be like a bare bones acoustic unplugged kind of thing, but it has to come from a real place within you. It has to come from a lived experience. And I think that this goes back to my friend. I was speaking with a friend that I actually went to dinner with this past week, or last week actually, and he was talking about how he's played drums for years, but he has taken to songwriting because he had this romance with this girl that didn't work out, and so it's been driving a lot of his thoughts. And I was telling him that he may not have any experience with production or with other instruments, but that he has a foundation of this broken heart or this love that he has for this girl. And if he turns that into something and uses that as his guiding light, the rest will follow because he actually wants to write a song about something.
Yeah.
And so, we ventured so far into escape that we failed to see art as anything but varying degrees of escape. We don't even seem to want anything, even in the underground scene or anything. So that goes all the way from the slutty Sabrina Carpenter videos to the weird Angine Duplatine band and their outfits, because music and all art doesn't need like instrumental knowledge necessarily. That's a part of it. That's the 101. It's the framework of it. But it certainly, it certainly doesn't need loops and samples, but it needs real artists. It needs real writers. It needs real activists. It needs people that have a real foundation for what they want, and the aesthetics come afterwards.
Yes. I like what you
Uh,
said about the lived experience. You can tell that a lot of modern music is not coming from a lived experience anymore. Like,
at all.
there's a couple artists, and I'm gonna give a shout out, and one of them is gonna be funny. You're not even gonna expect it. But like you said, like Kanye, like I'm a huge Kanye
Yeah.
fan. People know it. People know I'm a huge Kanye fan. Like you can tell his music comes from a lived experience. Like going back to like Queen and like
Mm-hmm.
it comes from a lived experience. Like the lyrics,
Oh,
he
really?
sat
Yeah.
down and wrote the lyrics, and it comes back from a lived experience. But like you look at some of these songs today, like a Beyonce song, you look at the writer, like the lyrics will have 19 writers, and it's like okay, 19 people, 19 different people did not live the same experience of these lyrics, and that's why the music doesn't saturate in me. That's why it doesn't
they,
hit
they
me.
they couldn't possibly be able to convey 19 people couldn't possibly be able to convey the same thing about love. And
Exactly.
that's just a one emotion. That's just one thing. They're all going to have different views on that. And also, even they're writing for someone. You got to think about this. They're writing for Beyonce, so they're using her voice and her persona, and they're thinking, what are my own thoughts about love filtered through the idea of Beyonce? and there's still 19 people doing that. So this is like so far removed from any sense of reality.
Exactly, and that's not how music was ever supposed to be. You know, like back in the in the days of, I think this all started back with Michael Jackson because he had a lot of writers and stuff. But it's
Mhm.
like even Michael Jackson to a point, he would obviously be like, "Nah, that doesn't fit the song." And
He
once
still had
again,
control over his art, yeah.
exactly. There's one artist you're gonna laugh at, and it's gonna be completely left field. That actually does take it there. Every album, he has like two or three songs where he's talking about a lived experience, but it's so like niche, and it is just that pocket of that area of the world and that community. The artist is Bad Bunny. I know it's funny to say, but
Oh no, 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 not at all.
it's in Spanish and like it's Latino culture. But like his some of his songs he are like specifically about, I think that's why maybe he's so popular. Obviously, he makes good music, but some of his songs are like specifically about that lived experience, about what it's like to
That
be
authenticity
for
that
that niche culture of, or just like for Puerto Ricans, you know what I mean? Like the blackouts. He has songs about like the what it's like growing up in Puerto Rico, what it's like about the just the corruption, the black. He has that one song. I forgot the name of it, but it's about the black. In English, it translates to the blackout, and it's about like the power plant in Puerto Rico and everything. So it's like he's like one artist that actually had. I think maybe that's why they picked him for the Super Bowl, because he has a couple songs every album. Yeah, at least he has two songs every album where he goes deep into detail about that lived experience. But besides that, most artists they're not coming from the lived experience anymore. Like we just said, like one song, one artist, one mainstream artist might have 15, 16 people write the lyrics for one song.
hmm
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So there's no authenticity in the music.
that's and you just hit the nail on the head about ghost writing and about team writing when it comes to music as well, because even within the context of a band, when you would have different people who are contributing to the music, still being able to discuss and hash out a point of view that was different, even that tension can make it into the music. But when it comes from 19 people who are just credited paid ghostwriters, there's not the same kind of like discussion that's happening either.
Yes, and
When
that
it comes to that.
exactly, and then that leads back all the ways to about making music for the moment, about what's happening in the time. We're in a very hot political climate time, but it's like people are too people are too afraid to make a statement in their music and take a stand with something in their music because they're afraid it's gonna piss off the left, it's gonna piss off the right. And it's like, okay, well, what the fuck do you even believe in? Or are you just making music to just try to sell us a fucking
Exactly.
you know
There
what I
has to be a
mean?
foundation. There has to be a foundation for art, and there has to be a foundation for what you make, and there has to be something you're willing to like eh, eh, creatively die for. You know what I mean? Even if that just means that people won't listen to your music, there has to be something you stand for. And
I can't think of
yeah,
any artist that came out today in today's modern music scene that like actually takes a stand on something. Because if a modern artist does, let's say they do take a stand on something, they put it out and it's a wildly unpopular take, they're gonna have a correctly written PR take. They're gonna have a whole team that's gonna write an apology. They're gonna go on social media and try to clean up the mess. They're gonna have a whole team that's curated to clean up the mess that they created. But then if it goes the opposite way and it does take off and the message does try to take off, well, you know that message is not real. You know that it was
of course.
just, they were just saying it to get in with the popular crowd at the time.
I even had a thing really quick. I said that Bowie and Dylan might have changed and morphed to hone their original style through different personas and eras. And you hear people use the term now, like villain era and things like that. But the idea of changing yourself through a newfound interest or a new belief is far, far more drastic and nuanced than anything that can just be represented superficially. And it's something that the algorithm and attention economy does not reward, because authenticity or any message in art doesn't speak to an aesthetic. And that
Yes.
completely goes with what you were just saying, in the sense that if it doesn't, if Sabrina Carpenter suddenly was all like, I think there's problems going on in Iran, uh, people would be all like, aren't that's a little, well, half, number one, half her audience would get pissed off, whatever half didn't like whatever she said. And then also the fact that people would put her back in the box and say, you're just supposed to be the slutty blonde with the music videos and everything. You're not supposed to be speaking on these big things. And it would turn, like you said, into a big legal course correction and everything like that. And then if you never hear anything about it ever again, everybody's afraid of pissing off part of their audience, and everyone's afraid of standing out for something that is not their established aesthetic.
Yes, 1000%. That's so correct. And maybe that's why a lot of this music is just, I don't know, man. Like, I wish we could get an artist like Bob Dylan right now at this time in this world right now, because I feel like the
Oh
world
yeah.
genuinely needs it. But at the same time, would that music even be popular today? I don't know if it would be. I don't even know if an artist like Bob Dylan could be popular in today's world, because the system that promotes the music, I don't think it would grasp onto that, and I don't think it would
Mhm.
promote it. You know what I mean?
Even if it was something that was stylistically drastic, or even stylistically just in tune with everything going on,
Yeah.
still the message in and of itself would be buried.
The message,
There would be,
and I'm not talking about
yeah,
that genre of music that Bob Dylan made, but
yeah, yeah.
I'm just saying, like, an artist like that with a message in the music. And it's like, sometimes a lot of this music that came out with this message, it wasn't like directly like, this is the message. Like,
Yeah.
it kind of like pushed you into something of believing you're like, what do you, it almost made you question reality a little bit. Like, what do you think about this? And will you take a stand? If this is what you believe in and you're listening to me, will you stand with me, and will you take a stand with me? And it's like, I
It
honestly,
reflected the world, like you were saying about American Idiot. It reflected the world. It showed you what the world was, and then offered you the chance to have your interpretation. And that's something we don't. Oh man, my gosh, even more so than people taking a stand, ambiguity is something, and just leaving things up to people's own interpretation is something that we've lost entirely in our culture. That's something that people are afraid of. You can't sell ambiguity.
yes. And that kind of gives you the little, like, mysterious thing about the artist that you get to discover,
Yeah.
like, and you get to grow with the artist. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like,
Absolutely. Yeah. It
going,
gives you the mystery.
yeah, going back once again to Green Day. I mean, like, I was a kid listening to that when it first came out, and then growing with it to actually, because I was a kid. I mean, I didn't, obviously I cared about the world, but I was so oblivious to what was going on. I was just having fun and stuff. But then as I got
Cool.
older with the artist at the same time, and I was growing with it, it's like it made me want to care more about what was happening at the time in the world.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
crazy.
I've told people before that there's like different stages of, as funny as this might sound, different stages of punk. And one of them is that you get older and you realize that it's not really about a style at all. It's about seeing the world a certain way and seeing art a certain way. And I feel like that's something we've kind of lost, because we don't want people to grow with art. And this very much goes back to, what we were talking about things just not having that classic staying power like they used to. But also very much what we're talking about now with how superficial everything has gotten. There's just nothing about there's just nothing about that's meant for us to question. Everything is meant to be transient. It's meant to be this 5 minutes, and then you're not meant to think about it, and it's not meant to be stayed with in the same way. Like you said, like, you stay with that artist, you listen to American Idiot now, and you hear something very different than you did when you were a teenager. And it's not just the music. You hear where it comes from. Um, as much as I feel like I don't want to make a habit on our stream of knocking this, because I genuinely do love it. But like, for example, Charlie XCX's Brat. Do you think you're going to listen to that in 20 years and hear something entirely different than you heard
Nah,
last year?
nah. I love
Like,
Brad. I love Brad, but I'm not
I
hating
do,
on it.
I do
I love
too.
that
I do
album.
too. I do too. That's why I don't want to keep knocking it, because I knocked it on the last stream too. I don't want to knock Charlie XCX anymore, but
No, you can
But
knock
she
you can knock it because even Charlie, she she's a phenomenal artist, but
she is.
at the same time, can you really take Charlie XCX music serious? I know her last album was trying to be more serious with the Wuthering Heights. That's the last album, right?
Man, Thugger,
What is it? What'd you say?
Thugger.
Thuggering Heights. No, like she's trying to like take a more serious route, but at the same time, like it's just a vibe. It was just the aesthetic for this time. You know what I mean?
I like, and you know what? She's great at that. That's why I liked Brat, and that's also why I liked Wuthering Heights and everything like that. I like what she does in taking, like you said, the vibe for the time. And some of her old producers, like Alex G and Sophie, like she works with great people. She does.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the Dare, but that's another thing. But she works with a lot of great people, and I do like her music. But there's nothing timeless about it. There's nothing to stay with. It's just beautiful for the time being.
It's like for the club scene, the dance, the the drug years. You know what I mean? It's
vibes.
It's vibes. That's what it is. It's vibes. It's vibes. But I don't know if our current system, as in the algorithm and the social media and these things that we were talking about, I don't know if if this world has a place in it for an artist like that. Because I don't know if an artist that really captures the time period and comes out with the message and takes a stand and tries to make things a little bit more serious, but also has that ambiguity to it so you can take it in yourself. I don't know if there's ever going to be a time where an artist fits in this world, if an artist like that can fit in this system that we've built. And the part of the problem is I saw this reel, shout out to Sync Money. I saw this post from these guys I follow called Sync Money who make great content. But they were saying that part of the problem with music right now is that there's so many people in the music industry that don't make music. Like they're tech people are there.
They're PR people.
They're PR people or whatever the hell they're into, but they're not in music for music. They're in music to build completely new systems that we're just figuring out and just learning. You know what I mean? It's like going from Napster to iTunes to now we're in Spotify. Now we're in streaming, Spotify, Apple Music. I don't think there's a lot of people in the music industry today that are not. They're not in it for music. They don't make music. They're not musicians. They don't write songs. You know what I mean? And I think that kind of is part of the problem because they have actually built the systems that control the artist who gets the most plays now.
Mm-hmm. So that determines stylistically how music, not just in the mainstream, but how it trickles down as well. So you have people that are not musicians, not producers, not songwriters, who are making decisions about what stylistically hits the algorithm. So even if you want to listen to something like Vaporwave or something like that, there's someone who controls that industry. There's someone who's letting you listen to the Vaporwave they want you to.
Yeah.
And so there is no escaping it. It's all, especially with the algorithm, it's the ultimate tool.
And it's crazy, they say we live in like the freest country in the world. It's like, I don't even really know if I believe that anymore, but they say we live in a free country. And it's like, would an artist, let's be real, dude, if there's an artist that has a great message that's really actually resonating with people for the time and be like, and it's like actually like a John Lennon, they're making a song that is for the moment, and would the powers that be even let that song get popular? They would probably cut it off before it got as soon as they saw it was getting traction, they would probably cut that song off before it was even getting noticed. I mean, we know this. We saw Kanye's song, the HH song, and not to say that was a good song, not to say that was, it's kind of a banger,
but the point you're making is it had an unpopular message, and you saw that it was banned. It was not allowed. It was something that immediately was rejected.
Yeah, I don't even think that these systems allow for something like an American Idiot, because let's say something that was, let's just say that there's an artist that, let's say some random artist comes out with whatever it is. Some random artist comes out with a song that is anti-war, anti-Iran war, and it just went super viral to hit the masses. I think immediately they would shut that song down. They wouldn't put it in play. They wouldn't playlist it. They wouldn't. Nobody buys music in stores anymore. Barely anyone I know listens to the radio. The only people I know who listen to the radio is like my parents. I don't think that it would take off the same because the systems wouldn't allow
if
it.
it had any kind of especially if it had any political ambiguity whatsoever. So unless if they thought it was marketable, if they thought this could really hit with the right, or this could really hit with the left,
Yeah.
then maybe you'd find.
Or maybe this could just really hit with America, but yeah, the left and the right.
Yeah, they would try to find some angle where it worked, but if it had any ambiguity where it was saying war is bad and you know what, both parties are bad, both sides are bad, if it had anything like that at all where it left you anything to think with, it would be buried. It would absolutely be buried.
For sure.
And not only would it be buried, another thing I always think of, and this is a related topic, but it's something that I think about a lot, is not only are we to the level, just a moment.
Okay, this is really good.
Allergies like crazy.
You would not like North Texas then. I mean, I know you love Texas, but dude, the allergies are so bad out here.
Bro,
it's funny.
I'm convinced I'm developing sinusitis since moving out here, to be honest with you. It's fucking ridiculous.
Oh, shit, that sucks.
My wife has really bad allergies. The allergies, it's so green out here. There's so much greenery.
I've always had bad allergies, but out here, bro, you have to beware, be warned, have a plan. Like, I've never experienced this shit.
Allergies are really bad out here.
That sucks.
But at least they have a pollen count.
It's so green.
They have a pollen count, they'll let you know.
Yeah, they're letting people know about the pollen count, and the insects are so crazy out here. They're so big, so they spread.
The pollen count is really high up here too, except for it's a drier climate. So as a result, it comes in different waves.
Yeah.
But it's I love Texas, absolutely beautiful. But oh my gosh, any kind of like greenery or anything like that, it really does like set it off.
Yeah. So go back to what you were saying though. You were saying about sorry, I totally lost it. But we were talking about how they wouldn't let the song get popular.
So something I think about a lot is we're not even not only would something get politically, especially if there was any kind of political slant, political ambiguity, or anything that spoke directly to something happening right now, like you said, the conflict in Iran or anything like that. Furthermore, I don't even think, not only do I think they would absolutely suppress it, I think we're even further behind than that, because think about this. This is something I think about an awful lot. There was nothing all that concrete about the controversy in the 90s with Marilyn Manson. He was just an out there guy, and he was dark, and he would do crazy stuff, and his videos were crazy.
Yeah, he was the last real shock rock star, in my opinion.
So what I was going to say is, not only do we not have any sort of political nuance in music anymore, where's Marilyn Manson? Not specifically, but where's the new Marilyn Manson? Where is like the shocking star that really is like pushing the boundary, and not everybody likes him. But they have something to say, and they have something they're trying to prove, and we're so far behind in these days. Not only would something political get buried, someone just being a shock rocker now is unheard of. Like, yes. I can't even imagine what that would be.
Yeah, because if somebody took like a stand against what's happening in the world, you know what's crazy is there would be an opposite angle right away, and they would have paid people on social media, like they would pay them to and they would develop a campaign to underline their music and make fun of the artist. So that's the first time I've ever seen something like this happen, is that now there's like a whole separate team, PR team, whatever, that would be paid online to slander the artist. Before, it would just be like you were just talking about Manson. Like, he did that crazy ass concert where he like wiped his ass with the American flag and shit. I think he did that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
I think it was in Brazil. He did that. It was like some crazy concert.
Yeah, it was in Rio.
It was in Rio. Yeah. And so if something like that happened today, obviously it would be controversial, but the mainstream media would obviously attack it back in the day, and they would be like, this is horrible, this is like, you know what I mean? But then the counterculture would be like, well, he did it because he's trying to like convey a message and take a stand, like fuck George at the time, fuck George Bush,
Yeah.
and fuck the Iraq war because like of what's happening in this time. Now if that something like that happened today, it would go super viral on social media. Some people would be like, okay, like it's cool, I support it. But you would have the mainstream media, number one, that would be talking down about it. And then you would have a whole team online, like we were just saying, that would be like paid. They would be getting
PR
paid.
to
They would
take
be
it down,
to slander it. You know what I mean? So the message would never really truly get out there.
and then it would hit because you have that paid PR team, it's going to hit with someone. So I'm going to make something up right now. I'm going to like pull something out of my ass. The Swifties, I talked about them earlier. The Swifties, it would hit with them, or it would hit with some other group, and then they would in turn continue to propagate it. So after that, you don't even need the PR team. After that, at that point, you have a whole other section of the internet who has already taken on this ideology to trash this thing.
Damn.
And by the time you have that, that's like free PR. There was never anything like that back in the day. There was never anything back in the day where it was like, where you could just kind of inject an idea. And of course, there are people paid to do it, but where you could inject an idea into society and then it would take off and create this big ripple. It was so rare back then that you had something that was like a cult following or something like that. And now it's like, that's how it operates. That's how everything is.
Damn. You know, Corey, this is such a great conversation. I loved having this conversation with you. But we need, if any artist sees this, if you're an artist, I want to convey, if I have one message to convey to you, write music with a purpose. Write music with meaning. And even
from
if
your authentic self.
From your authentic self, even if you don't think somebody believes in it, or it's not going to go viral, it's not going to take off, like, I always see stuff online talking about a renaissance. Maybe there's going to be real ideas again. Maybe there's going to be real music coming out again because AI is taking over and people are going to be hungry and thirsty for that real authenticity. So if there's any artist, because we're going to be ending the stream right now, I just want to say though, if there is anything, any message I can give to any artist is be authentic. Absolutely. And speak for what you believe in, because
100%.
The world that we live in, we need that more now than ever, in my opinion. So,
that is what art needs, and that's what the world needs.
For sure. For sure. Dude, you brought up so many good points, and actually, I haven't listened to Manson in a long time, and I think tomorrow when I wake up and go to work, that's going to be one of the first artists I listen to just because you brought it up. I used to be a huge fan. But also, Corey, if you got like 1 minute to tell me about this, what are the top 3 songs that I should check out this week? If you could just go off the top of your head. If you could just go off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head. Okay, so even though I did bring them up in a negative sense earlier, the Anjin Duplatin, instead of giving you a track, I'll just say you can check out their KEXP performance.
KEXP performance.
KEXP. And the KEXP has a lot of cool performances, but it's a live thing that they did. Then I would say, just because I always bring this up, Slauson Malone, or sometimes he goes by Slauson Malone 1. He is actually the artist we saw open up for Black Midi, the guy with the guitar. Okay. But his album, which he has 2 of them out. Depending on what other one comes up, but it is the latest one. It's gonna kill me that I can't think of the name of it. But his latest album is phenomenal. It's really experimental hip hop, but it's very good. So I highly recommend that. So Anjin Duplatin, Slauson Malone 1. And then, just because I was listening to them earlier, even though I wouldn't consider them something too recent, there is a all-female punk band called Die Spitz.
Die Spitz.
Babe,
all-female punk band called Die Spitz.
Die Spitz, yeah. And I am all about them. They're definitely cool. I'm not
I'll
really
1000% check it out. I'm gonna check it out tomorrow, man. Fridays are a big day for me where I listen to new music, so I'm gonna clip this
absolutely.
and this is
Oh, and then
cool.
really quick, I have to plug this. The I mentioned this last time that the Black MIDI bassist has that new band that's called My New Band Believe. Their new
Believe
album comes out
my new
tomorrow.
band, Believe
Yeah, My New Band Believe. It comes out tomorrow. Their album
tomorrow.
tomorrow. Yep,
I'm gonna listen to it. I'm gonna listen to
absolutely.
it. Yo, this is T.O. on top. This is one of the most well versed people I know in music. C3 versus the 21st century on Instagram. Also,
Thank you so much for having me.
Dreaming with Machines. We're gonna be doing music conversations like this every 2 weeks. And yo, like we were saying, like, can things like get serious again? Like, yo, I think it's time. Like, enough with the fucking fake bullshit in the world. Let's kind of take it a step back or something like that. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
And let's take a step forward into something better.
Actually, that's the message. Fuck what I said. Let's take a step forward into something better. Let's be authentic again. I appreciate you so much, man. I'm gonna get on this call. I'm gonna upload this on YouTube. I'm gonna clip it up. But man, thank you for coming and doing a stream with me. Like tonight's conversation.
Thank you so much for
I'm gonna
having
be
me.
thinking about that all fucking weekend because you know why? I'm going to a R&B album release party this weekend.
Oh hell yeah, that's awesome.
Yes, there's an artist that lives in Dallas area. They invited me to their party to go hear their new music, and I just I want to convey that message to other artists as much as I can. Be authentic. Be authentic.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? We need it. All right, bro. I'll see you later.
Have a good one.
Later, G. Let's do it again
Thank you.
soon.
Absolutely.
Later. I have a closing thing. I'm just trying to figure it out. It's done. That was so cool.